Hey, y'all, we're back. We're going to continue this series of building a to-do app with agents. Um, Earlier today, we were using Codex. We made a few changes, added inline editing, moved things around. Codex was fighting with Chrome DevTools for a bit, and so I didn't get as much done as I had hoped to. So we're actually going to switch from Chrome DevTools, or excuse me, from Codex to Claude. So I'm going to open Claude here. One thing to know when going back and forth between Claude and Codex, we don't have it in this file. We actually only have our plan and an index file in here. But typically, like we would have in a larger project, we would have an agent.md file for basically any other agent, or if we were using Claude, a claude.md file. Now, Claude doesn't recognize an agent.md file, so you have to tell it either to copy it or do a symlink, basically say that they're kind of the same thing. But we'll talk about Claude and agent.md in the future. For now, we're going to keep working on this to do. I'm going to check the MCP real quick. I'm hoping we're not going to have any issues with Chrome DevTools, but we'll see. Can you open the app? Oh, I need to open Mac Whisper. Can you open the app in Chrome DevTools? And so, yeah, we did inline editing. We added a little bit of polish to the drag and drop. We removed date. We're going to try and simplify this. And so, yeah, I click and hold and move it, and you can actually see the background change. We added a little bit of a like frosted glass effect here for moving it. So I feel pretty good about that. Status. Some of the things I think let's see. App is open. What's next in the master plan? Master plane. Okay, so it looks like at this point there isn't a set number of things to do but add polish here, and that's probably a pretty good point for us to be at. One of the things I was thinking about in the last video, excuse me, was how do we like instead of having create that task down here, how about have it at the top and then have a way to also just be able to click and insert these into different places? I don't know if we need a plan for that. I'm going to go into plan mode for this. Instead of having create tasks fixed at the bottom, I'd like to just have it be in line at the top, just like an empty input, just like an empty task. Task. So the idea is to have a piece at the top here. You add it and it'll add it from the top. I maybe need to clarify that here. I have it putting together a plan, so we'll see what it does. The idea is I type, hit enter, and instead, instead of the task getting added to the bottom, we want it added to the top. And I think that's the first piece of this. And then the second piece would be handling adding inline. So instead of appearing here, I would click here, it would move the inline piece to there. And then there's maybe some other polish type stuff. Again, this is more just to give you a sense of what we can do. Insert position just below the composer. Yes. Composer styling, full stack row. I think we want it to mirror exactly. I want it to enter at the same position, like when we hit enter, so we'll have that little bubble there. That's okay. I'm also not exactly sure how I want to handle that. Like, it'd be nice to have some sort of slight animation. I don't know if that's through an icon, like it's using an icon for the X, it's drawing the circle. There's a bunch of free icon sets, Lucide or Phosphor. Phosphor maybe fits this thing better, but well, they're more angular, so we'll see. But yes, let's see. At padding, okay, so this is, I think this is going to be a prerequisite to having the inserting. And I wonder, I don't exactly know how I want to handle the inserting. When we're between elements, like right now, I can barely click it and it's going to focus the task itself. And that's as intended. That's what I would expect. But we're probably going to need to take maybe 10 pixels on either side of these for the area that the insert places. And when you click that, it basically probably needs to move from the top to this position that we've clicked. And then what happens after? Maybe it stays there until you click at the top. There's some maybe wonky things, but this is the type of thing we need to think through. Okay, it's move create task to the top. The other thing is I also want to kind of just remove, I need to remove whatever this like header thing is. It removed the placeholder text, which is, oh no, it didn't. Oh, okay, it inserts it there. Okay. Okay, that's kind of what I would expect. Now the piece is, well, first I'm going to have it remove. Can we remove this header area that appears above the create taskbar at the top? It's just an empty spacer right now. Boom. Okay. Something else we could do is try and figure out, we've got time, how to handle, we could do like keyboard toggling. So that will be useful if you are looking at this on a phone, but be useful otherwise. Okay. Now let's work on the theme toggle. I think we already have it. What happens? Yeah, it still uses the glass, frosted glass. It's such a nice effect. Love that. Okay. All right. I'd like to brainstorm allowing the user to basically click within 10 to 20 pixels of the top or bottom of a task and have the create task row disappear from the top and then insert the task there. I'm sure we have a lot of questions to answer about that, so let's brainstorm how this might work. So I think it's, hopefully it asks me something about visuals or gives me ideas about visuals. Like I think I talked through a little bit about what maybe I wanted to have happen, but it's really like, honestly, LLMs are so good. These agents are so good at brainstorming. I mean, a lot of times if I'm not exactly sure what I want, but want to try something, I just tell it to work with me on it. So I think there's a few things we could do here. There's also what is the behavior after you hit enter. My guess is that it applies it where you've inserted it. Then we have to decide if it after that moves back to the top or if it stays where it is and you have to click towards the top to insert there. I'm kind of thinking it stays there, but that may, to me, it seems there's a little bit more complexity there. I don't know. And then how does that work if you're using the keyboard? So you use the up and down arrow keys to select the row, and then maybe you have to actually go between items. It's a little clunky. Let's see what Claude comes up with. Something else we may want to do here is have some sort of animation that actually that maybe after we look at how we handle some of the iconography is just like as things move around. It's a simple app. Having some subtle transitions would be nice. All right, let's see. Short click in the narrow zone to the top or bottom edge of a row repositions the composer. No real conflict. Title edit. Currently, the title button only takes the center of the row. The top bottom padding, the top/bottom padding strips are currently inert clicks. The edge zone lives. Hold to reorder. Oh yeah. So how does the user know? A hover hairline. Yeah, I agree. There's something with the line. It'd be nice to do something with that. Honestly, I don't see these agents can do some pretty crazy things with CSS, but let's just get the functionality right first. All right, affordances. Let's do the hairline. Oh, no. Oh, plus a create task hint. Let's just do the hairline and not do the create task hint. That's probably not the best UX, but this is a little for fun app. So post submit, stay at the same gap. That's what we talked about. I'm glad it's asking me about that. I think that's the way to handle this. Cancel escape on the input. Click outside the composer. Okay, so this is saying I don't want to do this. And it moves back. So if you click away, to me that may be a little bit funny. I was kind of leaves the input with an empty value. Oh, I don't think we want that. Click the same gap. Well, pressing escape probably does do that. Clicking outside if it's empty probably does do that. I'm also looking for suggestions on what you think the best user experience is here. All right. Hit zone. 18% of row height. Maybe on big screens that's too much. I feel like the fixed one is probably good enough. I almost wonder if 24 is too big on mobile, but let's see what it comes up with. I think it's gonna want one more answer because I asked it for a suggestion. So we'll see what happens here. One thing I didn't think of, what happens if this does it just overflow? It's kind of normal. Oh, so the input doesn't break to the next line, but it'll keep showing it. We probably should wrap the input here too. So when the focus leaves, when the focus leaves an input, that's called on blur. You saw that, I think, in there. But anyways, I think the on blur, like it shouldn't jump like that again, what we talked about in a previous video. So that's something we should look into. It should just keep writing and wrap the text just as it is displayed. And what does this look like smaller? Yeah, same thing. I think wrap the text is the right way to handle that. You know, while it's thinking, we're going to do something different. So one of the reasons I like this is because I can hit Command D and launch multiple agents. And typically I don't do this if we're working on kind of the same area, but because there may be conflicts, but this is kind of a small thing I want to go ahead and adjust. And I'm going to assume that it knows what we talked about. What was that? I think I did ask it for an opinion. I don't really, after clicking, the composer disappears from its previous position, reappears the gap. Dismissal, yeah, it returns to the top. It must have decided that was the best approach. Okay. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this. Remember, you can take screenshots and feed it to any of these. Just copy and paste. I'm going to click away and take a screenshot of it here and paste. So you can put multiple screenshots in here, but then I'm going to tell the agent, when the input's focused, it looks like it can only be one line, but however, when it loses focus, it will wrap. Can we create this so that the input itself wraps to the next line? So on blur, it doesn't change height. Ask me any questions you have about this. So this is when you'll see things online where people are running 20 agents, and honestly, it's madness. If you have a big enough code base, maybe that makes sense where you have enough. I mean, honestly, I at my most will run 4 or 5. I rarely ever run more than 2. Sometimes 3. But that's what this allows you to do. And I can actually go and fill this and keep adding swim lanes. So each lane is an agent. Let's see what it wants here. Just the inline edit field. Oh, actually, that's a good call out. So the inline edit field and the composer is something we want. And let me close these. You can also do Command W, closes the selected one. You'll see this little blue triangle for warp. Ghosty has like an opacity one, like a 50% opacity applied to the not focused one. So just so you know. Let's see, inner commits. No new lines allowed. Let's not allow new lines. Display wrap. Ensure the input and the display wrap at identical points. Yep. Okay. Whoa. Makes me think, since this is happening, it's doing something with Chrome Dev Tools, trying to figure out what exactly, positioning some things here and moving them around. I don't know what it's doing. It says test passes. That makes me a little bit concerned. I don't. Maybe the agents have been writing tests. That is something else. Also, bigger projects that have specific functionality, you'll want to tell agents to write tests for it. So it's not breaking previous functionality when you add new ones. All right, it's looking like it's making the line darker. And working with agents, this is kind of a tight area. It looks like one finished before the other really got started, so that's good. But they will have collisions, and you want to be careful about that. Like, one agent can change something else that another agent is working on, or if it has a plan in that same area, it may change what the agent is expecting to find. So if you are running an agent, like multiple agents, it's a common thing to have one maybe working on a back end task, the other working on the front end, or have them working on separate parts of the application. This is very close. I'm also not using Git here, which is going to make it collisions a little bit more dangerous. And so maybe I should have been more careful about that. But let's see. Okay. So I should be able to. All right. Looks like it's moving. Inline task. Task. If I hit escape. Oh, it added that. Interesting. Where did create go? So I typed something. I hit escape. Oh, it went away there. Something funky is happening here. Well, first, let's just test this. It's not wrapping. Well, maybe I should hard refresh actually before I say that. So hard refresh is Command Shift R, and basically it's like clearing the cache and reloading. That can cause issues. Oh, and now delete's not working. Now nothing is working. Maybe a little bit. It may have been a little bit too early to introduce the double agent thing, but here we are. All right, it's opening a different Chrome Dev Tools. And part of me wonders if maybe Chrome DevTools is having an issue, because Codex also had that issue earlier. So kill the instance if needed. MCP failed. Yep. Okay. Let's see if it's. Usually I have to exit out to reconnect it. Okay, it says reconnected though, so maybe it'll be okay. Can you open it in Chrome DevTools? All right. Okay, good. So that is working. Let's do it for create task. As I type some random nonsense. Should have escape clear it, but that's a separate issue. Looks like that's working. Once this guy's done, we're going to close it and go back to having one because now that's fixed. The touch area for this seems a little finicky. It looks like it's also changing to the text cursor when and that indicates that we're editing the piece instead of inserting the create task. I'm wondering, is there a way to make the create task border thicker without actually pushing any of the content on the page? Also, can you investigate some of the oddities happening here? I don't know what it's looking at right now. It's a discrepancy between button and text area. It must be talking about this guy. May not be the best experience for the how the insertion works, but I think it does largely work. I'm trying to see if I click on the line itself, it'll insert, I think, below the line, which visually maybe we need to have something that shows it expanding down. Um, and it looks like it only looks at the bottom of it, like, oh, well, if I click the top, so if I click towards the top, I guess it will insert. So maybe it actually is working better than I had thought. I think it's maybe the cursor that is causing the issue. Okay, it's making the area bigger, which I don't know if is needed. I don't know if it should stay as, I don't know if that's the right call of it staying at, because I think the cursor is one of the things that's confusing me. I don't know that it should stay, um, I don't know that it should stay as text when it's in the edge zone. All right, I'm gonna Control C out of here, and then you can click the X at the top, or you can hit Command W, and it'll close it. So we're back to ours. Well, that also screwed up the agents. More grace. Can you reopen on Chrome DevTools? I think I actually need to close all of these other instances of Chrome. And I think we don't need a bigger touch zone. I think it was really just the cursor. And now it's not opening at all. Drag. Okay, so I'm not seeing the line at all. I'm not seeing any of the changes. I'm not able to insert the task in the middle of the row. I'd also say we should go back to just 16 pixels everywhere. I think changing the cursor to pointer is going to be enough to indicate it. I think that was the confusing piece. So please fix the bug, and please change the selection area. I think that will do it. Now, some other things to think about. I'd like to figure out what to do with the clear. Like, honestly, it'd be nice maybe to not have that, but on hover, again, affordances, but it's a simple app. To interact with it, you need to do that. So I think that's something. And then this isn't really an icon. I feel like that we can maybe do better. I don't know if there's a custom animation. I'm honestly just going to ask Claude for some ideas, and I want them to family together, because you'll notice the border radius here, and then the stroke here, or the stroke here and the stroke here. The X is way thicker. So they need to feel like they're part of the same family, they're part of the same app. That may mean building a custom X that is a hairline. That maybe makes sense. That's a nice counter to the really thick, the really thick text that we have. Maybe I'm going to ask it to do that. And then it'd be nice to have some sort of animation as it completes and then fades out. It'd be nice to have animations for insertion. We probably need to split some of those things up. So we'll see what Claude comes up with. It looks like it's found some sort of issue here. I always want to play with it when it's trying to do stuff in this tab in Chrome DevTools. Do we not have scroll bars? Scroll bars appear. Oh yeah, this is a trackpad, so the scroll bar will appear then. All right, let's see. Okay, that looks pretty obvious. Click. Create task should probably be sentence case. Can we make create task sentence case for the placeholder text? Oh, and the other thing I think was actually the escape behavior. Escape added it to the top. That doesn't seem right. Also, I'd like to look at the escape behavior for the create task input. If I hit escape, it keeps the text there. I would expect the text to clear. It keeps the text and moves it to the top. I think moving to the top is okay, but let's see, because that was what we talked about earlier, but it shouldn't keep the text that I have in there while doing it. If I'm editing a task, I hit escape, it undoes it. Okay, that's what I would expect. So it's just the create piece that's off. I think the thick line makes sense. Yeah, I'm thinking have it come down, that we're gonna have to plan some of these animations because I'm trying to think how to explain to it. It disappears and then reappears below it. But like with animations, you want to use animations really subtly. And they're not just to be visually interesting, it's to try and explain like where things are coming from. That's really a lot of what that should do, but it should still be fast, should still be efficient. Did I say uppercase? I did. Let me test the escape behavior. Oh, okay. Sorry, I meant sentence case, not uppercase. So the escape behavior works the way I would expect it now. So the next thing, I think what I'm going to ask it to do is like, let's look at the delete button. Let's maybe not have it appear except for on hover. And then we want it to kind of have a hairline stroke and be larger to match the completion circle. All right, let's reload. Create task. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. All right, I'd like us to look at the icons. So we have a 1 point stroke kind of circle for completion and a thick X icon for remove. I'd like us to design a way to family these together. I'd like the X icon to not be visible except on hover. And I'd like us to look at maybe some sort of animation for when a task completes and you actually can see the check or the completion or that kind of empty circle do something. Can you give me some ideas? Can we brainstorm what we can do here? Oh, man. Now you can see that works, though. Okay. That was intended for there. I'm also, we could do like a highlight color for text. I'm wondering if maybe like I don't know what's in my head right now is this app IA writer. Maybe we could do like a thick cursor line. I know that that's a little tricky, but let's see. Let's get some of these basics first. And we're about 40 minutes into this, but we're on a roll, so I'm going to keep going. All right. Yeah, they don't belong in the same set. Stroke only family. I don't like the circle bound family. Yeah, I think stroke only 1.5 is fine. Animation, stroke draws check, then row exits. I think that's what I'm looking for. Touch delete. Oh, so on mobile, yeah, that's probably true. Um, let's see. So I've got all of these checked, but the hover preview, I like the hover preview idea. Um, that's a nice touch. I'm not worried about confirmation delete in this app. So confirmation delete is typically if you're doing a destructive action and like if there are repercussions for that, you want to make sure the user wants to delete it. So a lot of times you'll see that as some sort of interstitial modal dialogue appear where it's like, are you sure you want to do this? Um, all of this is right. One thing I'd like to do is keep the circle and the X the same size. Right now, the circle is much bigger than the X. Probably lean towards keeping the circle the same size and making the X bigger. Yeah, I think this is looking pretty sharp. And we're at about 45 minutes. This may be a okay place to kind of like stop after this and then work on animations in the next one. Or maybe we'll keep going now. We'll see how long this takes. It'd be nice to get this done in 3 videos instead of having to do 4, I think. And honestly, for the animations, it may be enough here to just apply subtle transitions. That's probably gonna have to be something we'll talk with Claude about. We'll also see how close it gets with this because we talked about drawing a check mark. On my personal site, I had it do something that does like a circle and a check, which is a really nice touch. That's honestly kind of what I'm thinking here. I mean, we could also do a lot of stuff. Honestly, agents make it really easy to do a lot of fancy stuff. We could have completing a task explode confetti everywhere. I mean, this is just kind of a fun app. And again, the whole point of doing this is to kind of show you how I work, the types of things you can do. And I'm hoping you go home and start working on a to do app or start that idea you have. In the next video, one thing that is important if you're really going to build something serious is we should talk about Git, because Git allows you is almost like imagine you're playing a video game and you get really far and you die and you haven't saved and you have to go back to the beginning. That's what happens here if you get in really deep. And so what we'll start talking about is using Git, and you'll create a GitHub account, you'll connect it here. Honestly, the amazing thing about working with agents is if you don't know, you can just ask them. And for something like Git, it's going to be able to walk you through the steps to get that set up. But basically, you need to know that like if you commit and after every big change, really even after a lot of minor changes, because it's easy to do with an agent, you'll want to commit. And after you do that, that's basically saying I'm saving it. So whatever I do from here on out, I can't screw it up. Well, you can still drop a database table, which we'll talk about later. But for projects like this, you don't have a database. We don't need to worry about that. But it allows you to basically go back and go to that last save and work back from that last save as if the other things didn't happen. So let's see. I wonder, it's calling Chrome DevTools, but I'm not seeing it here. Oh, is it doing it in this? Okay. I see the little faint check, and I see the line X. That is better. Okay. Oh, it looked like it had a little bit of fade out animation. Interesting. I think the way it's doing a subtle animation on hover, I think I'd rather have the animation occur on completion. Looking at the check, it's doing a little subtle animation on hover. I don't think we need to do that. I'd rather have the icon animate on completion. And also at this point, I don't want to animate the rows. We're going to do that next. Yeah, so let's see. Let me just. Doesn't matter. So if I complete this, there's there's a second and then it fades away, and that's okay. But I don't want whatever it does here to interfere with what we do next, and I'd like it to just scope this animation for this thing to the little check. And also, I maybe should have told it. Let's see. That was better. That was much better. Okay. All right, the last thing I'd like us to look at here is the animation between rows. So when I select the middle of one of the borders, I'd like it to expand into that border from the border, if that makes sense. So I click on the border wherever that is being inserted. I'd like it to grow from the border, but be very subtle. I'd like to look at ideas for also the animation for how tasks completed should disappear. Let's talk about overall and brainstorm overall animations for the cards themselves. That was interesting. If I have something entered, we should probably change that. If I have something entered, it won't clear it when I don't know, is that a useful thing? I kind of expect clicking away to clear it. I think maybe that's something else we need to add and bring back in our double agent here. For the create input, whenever I click away, if I type first and then click away, whatever is in the input stays there. I think I'd expect it to clear if I tried to edit or click away. Unless I hit enter, I believe that create input should clear. Do you see any issues with this behavior? So this isn't a mobile device and it knows it's not, which is why, oh, should also maybe remove the circle for the very first one. I wanted to keep it there so that it's in line. All right, it says its recommendation is to keep it. That's fine. Let's leave it as is. That's fine. Let's leave it as is. Oh, it's because it was in here. Also, I'd like to keep create task in the same position, but can we hide the input for that? Or can we do something different? I'd like the text position to stay in the same place though. Oh wait, can we hide the, not the input, the checkbox circle? All right, let's see what we got here. Ideas. Expand and collapses. Growth in the border. The agent likes that. I think just height plus fade, not scaling. Row collapses and fades. I don't really like this. Oh, the slides left. I think I like collapse there. No, the tasks appear where the tasks appear exactly where the composer was. We don't really need an animation for this, right? Ah, what is going on? Sorry, ask me the questions again. I think I screwed that up. Hide circle entirely, show a glyph. Oh, the faint circle. Maybe like the dash circle. Can we do a dash circle here? The same size as the existing circle? Mac Whisper isn't doing great. Let's see, height and fade, collapses and fades, collapses and fades. What was I saying here? For a new task, doesn't it? I think it should just stay where it is, right? Because it appears exactly where the input was. All right. Hey, all right. I think that's a pretty good solution. All right. Let's see. This we're in the home, the final stretch here. So hopefully we can get this done in an hour. You know what? The clicking really bothers me, but I'm just gonna let it be. I think it should clear if you click away. It's not like I'm writing an email or something and I've spent an hour on it. I've spent 5 seconds. All right, I'm just gonna believe it here. And I'm actually gonna bring back our other agent because that's gonna bother me. if I enter text into the create input and then click away, the text follows the create input to wherever it went. I know that there's a concern that the user will use their work, but it only takes 2 seconds to actually write the input. I think we either need to decide if it should create it when they click away. I think the answer is yes. But I think I don't think it should move with the user. I don't think the text. And hopefully running two agents, I'm not going to run into trouble here at the very end. Sometimes that's how things work, but you're calling a memory, so it must realize that we talked about this before. As the agents work, there's a lot of basically essentially text files that the agents use to go through things. And if they think they have made an important decision, sometimes they will save it as a memory, which is just in like a temporary folder. So it's probably trying to recall the conversation we had before. Honestly, it's pretty unpredictable. You can tell it to save something as a memory. It's a pretty unpredictable way to work. Like I said, commits are better. Plans are better. Actually having it write a plan and save it, like we saved that master plan. That's a better way to do this than just depend on memory, because sometimes it doesn't save one. Let's see what's happening here. All right. It's not really an animation. Can you check in Chrome DevTools? I'm not sure I see these animations working. It's really thinking about this memory. All right, when you type the composer and click somewhere else, it runs, it unsets, fix you describe, commit the text as a new task. Yep. Make that change. All right, so if I click, oh, I need to refresh probably. I click, nope, something funky is happening here. I feel like I need to wait for the other agent to finish. Having them both, they both are not, can't necessarily call Chrome DevTools at the same time, which can be an issue. And I feel like this guy's maybe stuck on that. All right, let's see. Okay, it looks like there's a little bit. Yep. I think it's still moving around, but I think I'm about to call it. We've got the completion. Disappears. All right. I think that is our task list. I think this is probably a good stopping point for this project. So to recap, we built this tool, this little to-do app. We went through all of the planning and the creation. We added create, we added inline editing, we added completion, we added deletion, we added reordering, and then we went and finessed some of those details here in this little prototype. I think one thing I'll say here, the next app we do, we're going to use Git, which basically, again, is a way to save things. But for small projects, for a lot of the things we've been doing so far, it makes sense. You don't necessarily have to do it. Like a couple hours of work tinkering with it. The apps are small enough that the agents can probably correct any mistakes. But if you are planning to build this amazing thing that you have in mind, you might want to wait and watch the next video before you get started. But that's it. Thanks for watching.